Hey, thanks for visiting my channel. Today we are talking about interactive author engagement, why it's important, some tools you can use, and also some tips. So this is one of probably the strongest trends in the market right now because it taps into the thing that readers want most, which is connection with the author behind the book. We all can think of our childhood favorite authors, the ones that we consumed everything they put out. We were excited about them. You probably know a little bit about them, even if it's just in reading their series or reading every book that they put out. There is a plethora of authors out there now, just so many that you can't possibly know the authors behind every book. And so I believe that readers are just really excited about and also anticipating getting to know the author behind the book. They want to get excited about you in general, but what you stand for, what your genre stands for, what you believe in, what you're writing. There are so many opportunities to connect with our audience. So I want to kind of break these down a little bit. Let's talk about why it works. First of all, it makes your readers feel involved in that creative process. And this is so important because you're allowing them to take some ownership in that book that you're writing. So there are so many ways that you can do this, and you might feel more comfortable with some than others. But maybe you have them weigh in on some things like your title, your book cover, maybe some characters. It's could be something small like, where does your character work? If you have them weigh in on that, they're instantly going to feel connected to the character, which in turn connects them to the book and your thought process in how you developed that character. There's going to be some connection there. It also keeps you at the forefront of their minds, right? So um, interactive author engagement doesn't just look like you posting. That can get boring. Hate to break it. It does. Just we're not just pushing that book, and we're going beyond the book reveal. When you unbox your books, or here's a picture of me at my launch party. We want to catch them in micro doses in between those larger events, right? So these are like micro touch points where we're just making enough contact that it's not overwhelming to our audience, but it keeps them involved and it keeps us on their minds. So this could be a poll. This could be a little quiz. And we talked about, AMA, the Ask Me Anything sessions. I love to talk about those. You can kind of guide those in the direction that you want them to go into. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when I talk about engagement tools. But it's just ways to check in with them between those larger posts where you're putting out a lot of content, or those pillar marketing is what I like to call it. And then it builds loyalty and it pre-sells your book for you. So if you are in that person's space every now and then, you're engaging, it's interactive, it's not just one-sided, buy my book, buy my book. You're actually asking questions and you're showing that you value your audience. You value their thoughts, their opinions. You're going to build a loyalty, not just to you, but to your brand, so that future books are benefiting from the work that you've put in on this one. So let's talk about some of those engagement tools that I like to use. And there are 5 of them that I want to cover today. The first is Instagram, polls and sliders. So there are a lot of readers on Instagram, tons and tons of them. And so Instagram offers this option where you can do little polls, little sliders, where you're asking the fun questions. I really like them to be short, quick. You know, um, would you read this? So let's say, would you read a romance book written in space? like set in space? Yes or no? That's very simple. As a reader, it's not slowing me down. I'm not having to consume a lot of what you're saying. It's a quick question. I'm giving an opinion, but I'm going to keep in my mind, oh, yeah, I answered that. What about, how excited are you for the cover reveal? Do that as a slider. You're using these not just as a way to keep your audience engaged, but you're using them as kind of like mini market research. And again, just it helps your reader to feel valued, like you're looking for ways to meet the need that they have. Number two is that AMA, that Ask Me Anything session. So again, you could do this in your stories, you could do this by going live, but you want it to be kind of guided, right? Just to keep it on track. So here's some ideas for prompts. What if you said, ask me anything about writing a first book? Anything about writing a debut novel? You're going to connect with some people that not only are interested in writing novels themselves, but they also want to know about the process behind your writing. That's going to connect them to your story. What about, just putting up, hey, curious about self publishing? Drop your questions. Like, you're showing that you're willing to answer questions that is going to help them. So it's not just about the book. You're asking questions or allowing them to ask questions about things that they are most interested in. Number three would have to be probably story quizzes. These are like the multiple choice. And so they're not really having to do a fill in the blank. It's very simple. Pick A, B, C, or D. And it's really going to test reader knowledge. So you would ask something like, what do you think is my main character's biggest fear? Well, that might be in your story, that might not be in your story. But by answering that, they're going to feel connected to the character. They're going to want to know the answer. So they're going to stay engaged with your content, and they're going to feel that connection enough that they want to buy the book that's written about the character that they're now engaged with and committed to, right? Um, how about how long did it take me to write my first draft? And give four choices. Just see. Who knows a little about the writing process and how long it might take? Um, Again, it's just a way to interact with them throughout the process, because the writing process is long, it is tedious. And so you want to figure out how to keep them engaged even when you're not ready for them to buy your book. They're playful. Keep it playful. What about live discussions? So this can be a little intimidating, especially if you're not used to a camera, but you just turn it on and talk, just like you're talking to some friends. I love live discussions. I think they're really important. Book clubs, you could host like a little mini book club live. That would be fun. And you're interacting with, several people at a time. Who knows, if you're really well known, you've got a lot on there, but you're discussing your own book in progress. Or if you're not willing, you don't want to discuss your work in progress at the moment, you're not far enough into it, or you just don't want too many things to be revealed. Maybe you have a large audience. You could talk about another trending read that is in your genre. I like this because you're talking about something that, your entire audience knows about. So it's going to be something well known. You're going to pull in new audience members because they're interested in the book you're discussing. So even if they're not interested in your book because they don't know who you are at the moment yet, uh, you have a connection point through another book that is still in your genre. So there's still that shared excitement about something. And then I like for those live discussions to sometimes include guests. So you could collaborate with another author. Again, I would kind of stay within my same genre, but you don't have to. And the reason I like to stay in my genre is because you're sharing audiences. So if I'm doing a live, my people are going to be on there. If they're doing a live, their people are going to be on there. So if you're doing a live together, then you each have audience members that aren't necessarily connected to you. That opens up a whole new set of doors for people to come and follow you for your book information. Um, what about inviting your editor? So this is where it gets real, because you're inviting someone that's been part of the process to share their experience in the process. This is a great way to make that writing, the writing process available for others to get a sneak peek, which is only going to build excitement about the finished product. And number 5, challenges. So maybe you run a short challenge that ties into your writing in some way. Let's see, what about like 7 days of story sparks? That's cute, right? That is where you are sharing like a daily prompt and your audience is writing to that prompt. You're able to see the difference in how someone picks up on your writing, your prompt, and possibly fuels an idea for a future book for you, but it does keep them engaged. And especially if you can use like a branded hashtag, like maybe it's the title of your book, they're sharing it on their page, and they're able to put in that hashtag, which will then allow you to look it up, find it, and interact with it, because it's all about interaction. We want to make sure we're interacting with anyone who has something to say about our content, right? So use that branded hashtag, and just find ways to do little writing or reading challenges. Reading challenges are great for those who aren't interested in writing. It's just a way to engage. Okay, so let's talk about some tips to make this work, and I have 4. I think probably the most important is to keep it low effort for your audience. I mean, think about scrolling. You're scrolling, sometimes it's kind of numbing. You're not really super on it. You're just kind of looking for something, you're looking to be entertained. So if you've got something that is like a one-click answer as opposed to like a long form, it's going to be much easier to get that involvement. And then if it moves to more, say, in the comments, then you're doing more in that area, in that arena. But just that initial grab should be something very short and quick. Think short attention span. To respond to every interaction, we know this is important. Even a thumbs up or me too, same, something that's going to help your followers to feel heard. And they do want to feel like there's someone behind the computer. Don't feel like if you respond to everything that you look like you're not busy, right? Because we know we're busy. But help your audience to feel important and seen. Next is save your engaging content, like those interactions with your audience. Save those to your highlights. So if I'm on Instagram and I've got brand new followers, they missed those polls. They missed that opportunity to interact. But if you save that in one of your little highlight bubbles, then new followers can then go back. It's just going to keep that party going. And we want to do that, right? And last, mix personal and professional. Okay, so we love to talk about our books. It's easy to talk about our books, but I want you to sneak in some little questions about, I don't know, your coffee preference. Do you like coffee or tea? Or, what are you drinking? Black coffee, or do you put all kinds of sugary stuff in it? Just those little things, favorite tropes alongside your writing content. It draws that audience in. I think that is important for most social media followers out there. They want to feel like there's a human behind the person that they're talking to. And so adding those in can be very helpful and can increase engagement drastically. So I'm glad that you checked out this video. I want you to go visit my Stan store. I've got a lot of cool stuff on there, including tons and tons of freebies, free resources just for signing up for my newsletter, where I just give away more free stuff. So that link is stan.store/Carly Michelle. If you have any thoughts, comments, I would love to hear them. Just shoot me an email, or email carlymichelle@gmail.com, or just put them right there in the comments. And I'm all about engagement. So I'll respond to your comment.